Hello, and welcome to another episode of Blood, Guts, and Social Commentary. Today we are going to be talking about a very weird why is this a thing. That thing is going to be poop or bathroom horror. While this may seem like an odd subgenre to be talking about, bathrooms actually have a very long-standing place in the horror genre. Historically speaking, we begin in 1960 with the film Psycho. Psycho was the first film in history to show a toilet being flushed. While it wasn't flushing anything that was a waste product from human beings, it was just flushing a note. The fact that indoor plumbing had hit rural America in the 1930s, and cities that had hit much earlier, the fact that nobody had ever bothered to film a toilet before the 1960s is kind of weird, considering some of the first films were of babies being fed and trains pulling in and people getting off work. We filmed the everyday and things we've always done since the beginning of film. And what's more everyday than using the bathroom? I mean, we're all adults here, or at least mature enough to accept that. We all know that everybody poops. Everybody goes to the bathroom, everybody ingests food and liquid, so everybody expels it. Not to mention, Psycho has the iconic shower stab scene, which takes place in a bathroom. People have showers, traditionally, in a bathroom. We move on to 1975 with the film Shivers, which again has another bathtub-related scene with the parasite entering a body in a bathtub. In 1976, we have Carrie. The beginning credits take place in a women's bathroom in a locker room where Carrie has her first period. Blood comes running down her legs. She freaks out because having her first period, and we quickly realize Carrie has no understanding of what menstruation is because we assume either health was inadequate at her school or her mother did not allow her to take health due to her very religious beliefs. And the girls start throwing tampons at her in the shower. We see this again in the remake of the film. In the 1980s, we see The Shining. There's the whole scene with Jack Nicholson seeing the woman in the bathtub. While we knew something was clearly off with the hotel in The Shining, this was one of our first glimpses into how horrific and terrible that hotel actually was. In 1981, Deadly Blessing had the whole scene with the snake in the bathtub. In 1984, Nightmare on Elm Street, we had the whole Freddy coming to get Nancy when she started to fall asleep in the bathtub, which again is a dangerous thing. We see so many bathtub issues because bathtubs can be an extremely dangerous place. When children are young, and when we're young, we are very leery of bathtubs because you can drown in a very small amount of water, even as an adult. So children, since your bodies are so small, it's very easy to slip and fall and either crack your head and become unconscious and drown, or just to slip underwater and not be able to get up because you're so tiny and it's a slippery surface. Infants unfortunately drown in the bathtub a lot. That's why parents are so mindful of their kids being in the bathtub. I remember as a child, there was a PSA, a mother going to take a phone call while her child was in the bathtub. Child touches the knob and all you hear is this just earth-shattering scream, and it was talking about burns because, again, burns can happen. And bathtubs are a very dangerous place, especially if you're nodding off like we saw with Nancy in the bathtub because she couldn't sleep. She couldn't sleep because of Freddy. So when she started to nod off, Freddy was coming in and getting her. While we don't need to worry about Freddy Krueger coming in through our dreams, we do need to worry about nodding off in the bathtub because she easily could have slipped down and started to drown. And that is a very real fear, and it is something that unfortunately happens. In the 1987 film Street Trash, the very first melt we get from the guy that drinks Viper, he melts on a toilet and down into it. In the 1992 film Candyman, we get all of the people doing the call for Candyman into the mirror a la Bloody Mary, but we also get the scene in the public restroom with the boy getting his male member removed by the gang, and the call into the mirror is again very common in urban legends and in horror. How often do we see the bathroom where somebody's looking into the mirror and all of a sudden something pops up behind them? And again, that's us keeping our backs turned to something because normally the way bathrooms are set up, if you're looking into the mirror, you're normally above a vanity or a sink. So you're pretty close to the wall and most of the space is behind you. So if you're keeping your back to normally a door or something like that, you're keeping your back to a threat. Specifically, your back to a threat in what is normally, most people don't have carpeted bathrooms, a slippery area with a lot of water. So the chance of somebody getting a jump on you when you're at a vulnerable state, either naked, partially dressed, surrounded by water, slippery, it's very easy to attack somebody and catch them off guard, because normally when you're in the mirror, you're, brushing your teeth, putting on makeup. You're doing something that's keeping your focus off of any threat that could be behind you. In 1997 with Scream 2, we get the guy hearing the conversation in the next stall in a public bathroom. He's hearing some stuff. He thinks it's two people talking, possibly having sex. Kind of pushes his ear up against the stall to get a better listen and gets stabbed in the ear, which is, pretty obviously, don't eavesdrop in on people, it's none of your business. In Final Destination from 2000, we get the whole bathroom hang, and Final Destination's always very over-the-top, insane style, which again harks back to my whole, it's slippery, bathrooms are normally filled with very non-porous surfaces, which are easy to slip and slide on, and most people aren't wearing shoes in the bathroom. Your feet are great at gripping things, especially in slick surfaces. In 2006, we get the horror movie Rest Stop, which the horror revolves around, as the name implies, a rest stop. A rest stop where people stop, typically to use the bathroom. They might stop to stretch their legs, get some food into them, but 99.9% of the time, it's to pee. In 2009, we had established bathrooms so heavily in the horror genre, the movie Zombieland even had one of their zombie rules. Number 3, right at the top of the list, beware bathrooms. Always be leery of bathrooms. You're at your most vulnerable. Your pants are down. You have to keep an eye on what's going on, because you're at your weakest, but you have to alleviate it. You can't just run around peeing and pooping yourself, because that's a whole other issue tactically. And you can't just hold it in for a whole other myriad of other reasons. So survival, you have to expel. But for survival reasons, you're also making yourself incredibly vulnerable. So it's this very big double-edged sword. And lastly, in 2016, we get the film Anti-Birth, where Lou, who is our main character, goes to use the bathroom and ends up having a miscarriage. She uses this moment in the bathroom as a precursor to everything that happens for her in the film. She believes this miscarriage was her body rejecting life. She believes this is an entire allegory for her life and her lifestyle and the way she lives, that she's like, I can't take care of myself. How in the world am I going to take care of a child? My body understands that I just can't do that. I understand at this primal, basic level, I can't do that. And if you're interested in the film Anti-Birth, what I gave is a minor spoiler. It's not going to ruin the film for you that she had a miscarriage at all. So while I've discussed several movies that have scenes that relate heavily to bathrooms, there has been this minor blip in shorts for a few years. Some were full length, but mostly shorts, based heavily and exclusively almost around bathrooms. And it could be inspired by, or it could be because of these scenes and the reasons we've talked about, but we're just going to look at them for what they are. The first one is from 2000, and it's a short. I'm going to link it in the description. It's on Vimeo, but be careful, it does have mature content, it has some nudity, and it has some menstruation in it. It's from 2000, it's called Killer Crapper, because you know what you're in for here. It was the winner of Best in Show at the Sick Puppy Film Festival in 2003, and it was the jury prize winner at Fearless Taste Genre Fest in 2004, and me and my husband saw this one at Trauma Dance. Well, I would absolutely encourage, if you have any interest in the way bathrooms relate into the horror genre, watching this, to give a quick summary of how this plays into the idea of bathrooms as a means for horror. We open on a girl flushing a tampon down the toilet, which, for the record, you really shouldn't do that because it's actually really bad for plumbing because of the expansion, and it's a bad idea. Don't do it. The toilet ends up doing as it's promised and becoming a killer crapper. It, starts kind of using its seat and the lid as a mouth and like pulling and grabbing, eating and all that. So instead of using a surprise attack from a normal, everyday being like a human, like in Psycho, or a unseen force like in Final Destination. We use an everyday object like a toilet, make it become self-aware and somewhat humanistic, and have that do the attacking. Once again, playing on that Lovecraftian idea of the horror and the everyday, of the most terrifying thing isn't some unknown entity, it's you walk out and your flowers are singing. Our next entry comes from 2003, Monster. It is described as a serial killer mutates with a chemical inside a sewer to become a monster made of human waste just as the FBI and police are onto him. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get a copy of this feature length to look at it and analyze it myself. From my understanding and everything I've heard about the film, this movie fits in with all the themes we will discuss today. The next film comes from 2013, and it is actually a feature length called Stalled. This was on Netflix, but has been since removed. It revolves around a janitor who gets trapped in a woman's restroom and encounters an all-out attack by a horde of zombies. This one is like Zombieland, in the sense that it's zombies attacking while in a bathroom, but this one centers and stays around the bathroom from my recollection, because I saw this when it was originally on Netflix and wasn't able to get a hold to rewatch. So not only is this guy dealing with the fact that there are zombies, he's also dealing with the fact he's trapped in this bathroom, which I've already kind of explained isn't great for defensive means, in the fact that things are porous and slippery, and that's by design. You want to be able to clean a bathroom easily because a lot of gross things happen in a bathroom. While they're natural and normal, they're still gross. Like, you still want to be able to clean it up. Just because it happens doesn't mean it's something you want to touch. But it also means, while this guy is a janitor, he had more materials on him than somebody normally would in a bathroom. But bathrooms don't have a whole lot of things around them. Well, yeah, you can pull things off that are heavy. Porcelain's kind of heavy, but it's also not the strongest surface in the world. We say porcelain doll because it's breakable. It's meant to withstand some brute force, but not a whole hell of a lot. Like, if we're talking about an area with porous surfaces with some weaponry available, you want a kitchen. You don't want a bathroom. The next film comes from 2014, The Bobby Miller Show. This one breaks the mold a little bit. It revolves less around bathrooms and more around what people do in bathrooms. This entire short centers around a talk show host named Bobby Miller. He's kind of a Jerry Springer-esque type character, I guess, is the way most people will put it. Maybe even like a Morton Downey Jr. type kind of guy. He has like the outlandish guests, and like the audience starts cheering for him, and it sounds like they may want to fight him, but it never really comes to that, so it's not quite as vulgar on air as the other hosts, but there seems to be this element and kind of feel of that. Without giving too much about the short away, because it absolutely suggests watching it, this starts tying into bathrooms when Bobby goes to use the restroom between two of his guests. He's using the stall, and all of a sudden you see an eye appear in that little crack in the stall. And of course he's upset and starts freaking out, and whoever is there runs out of the bathroom immediately. So Bobby's understandably upset and rattled by this, but he's mostly upset because you really just number two, some random stranger peeking in on you going to the bathroom. That's totally reasonable. That's an understandable thing to not want. Eventually his next guests come out, and we see a young adult male by the name of Shithead. And when Bobby says, well, shit really won't play on TV, can we call you Poophead? He freaks out and screams, no, it's Shithead. The reason he insists on being called Shithead is because he's wearing a diaper and goggles and admits he eats poop. This guy is all about eating poop. He's all about number two. I don't want to dive into the reasons for that and where that ties in even more with this, because I don't want to ruin any plot points. But suffice it to say that bodily functions play heavily into this film and create a big portion of the plot. So while The Bobby Miller Show comes again from this at a very comedic standpoint, it ends up in this very almost sincere territory towards the end, once you find out what's going on with Shithead, about just the human condition and how people treat each other. and just the way people are to each other. So, while again, this doesn't center around bathrooms like the previous entries on this episode, it does again deal with something we do in the bathroom, and again deals with that sense of vulnerability that we were speaking about earlier when Bobby is in the restroom and is being peeked in on. How many times, at least in America, have we heard the argument of, well, you know, we're gonna start recording people, well, I don't want to be recorded, well, you wouldn't mind being recorded if you weren't doing anything wrong, and the immediate argument becomes, well, I'm not doing anything wrong when I'm in the bathroom, but I still would like not to have it recorded. Again, it's this private, intimate thing, and we'll get into this more in episode 2 of that's just a place where we like privacy. This concludes part 1 of our look at bathroom/poop horror. Next week, please come back. I'm going to have guest Mike Lombardo on to talk about his work on the movie The Stall. As always, if you like what you're hearing, please give me a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. All those things really help me out with YouTube analytics, so more people can find this channel. If you don't like what you're hearing, again, thumbs down exists for a reason. Give me a comment, let me know what you're thinking. If you think I'm totally insane on this one, which probably is pretty reasonable. I did just talk about poop for about 20 minutes, so that's fair.